Yes, and welcome Chris and Ross from Portolio. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
Very good, yeah. Thanks for having us on.
Got to say, thank you for the gifts. I've got my ice scraper, I've got my pen, I've got my notepads. By the way, I'm totally paperless now, but I will put that to some sort of use. I think my wife might use that.
Christmas present.
She loves, exactly, there you go, that's sorted for the wife. She uses a notepad, and we've also got these lovely donuts as well. So if anybody is coming on the show and future guests, look at these bad boys.
Well, fan us up.
Don't actually know what they are. They're donuts, aren't they? Eh?
That looks like a fudge donut.
Fudge donut,
Let's
Nick,
have a bite.
Go for it, Nick.
Class is going to be all over.
Over to you, mate.
Yeah, start by telling us, the listeners, what is it you guys actually do at Portolio? And
Okay, yeah. Well, we are the estate agent for landlords. We sell tenanted properties. And I suppose when we first launched back in 2017, I would go on to say that, we sell them on the open market. And that would usually give some kind of response like, how can you do that? Why, you can't sell tenanted properties on the open market. And because back then
it wasn't very niche, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, I mean, it's still obviously relatively niche, and we do come across the occasional landlord or, a property professional that's maybe doesn't know about it quite yet, but it's become much more commonplace. So, to now just say, we sell tenanted properties, most people are like, okay, cool, yeah, I've heard of that. That's a thing. But,
and you've stuck to your lane, haven't you? So, over the years, was there temptations to kind of, evolve the business into other kind of avenues? Because, I see some people set up in estate agency and they're talking about they offer a solution for everything. So, you could sell your property tenanted, quick sale, we'll buy it for cash, all the rest of it. Or do you just stick to the kind of one offer, we sell tenanted property?
We do. We try and keep it simple, but not because we want to say because we're simple people, but that probably comes across pretty badly. But yeah, we want to keep it simple. We work with other professionals, so we work with mortgage brokers, solicitors, and we give advice on property investment, and they give advice on mortgages, etc. So we don't want to we want to make sure that we're given the correct advice all times, and we work with people who are specialists in those areas to help us there. We have got a second business, which is a traditional estate agency, which just covers Edinburgh, Fife, and the Lothians, which is called Macweed Properties. So we've got those two businesses, but Portolio is the one here we're going to chat about.
And when you get back into lettings, Ross, when you starting up the letting agency side?
So was it both of you had a letting agency before?
Yeah.
It was both of you.
So I would never do it ever again.
Saw the light and
saw it was, I sold because I was just really done in,
How long did you have the letting agency
Well,
for?
I sold it in 2013 and then left to do some retail, lost a lot of money there, and then came back to property just after a couple of years. And then just...
But you do miss the reoccurring monthly income.
Well, as I said earlier, I really missed that because as a letting agent, you've got this portfolio, the management fees, you can plan. But as an estate agent, you're just kind of, where is the next instruction?
Yeah.
We need to get that sold. You need to get that across the line, and that's when the fees come in.
I always compare it to like different property strategies. Like people go like directly, I'm going to build a buy-to-let portfolio, and I'm like, why not flip some? Why not trade some? Because a buy-to-let portfolio is got nice recurring income, but it doesn't get your capital. And flips, again, people will just go right in the flips. I'm going to flip. I don't want to be a landlord, but you're waiting on the sale of a property. Whereas if you have a bit of both, then at least you know that the income's always ticking along.
But we have stuck to our lane though. You're right there.
Yeah, Ross, your memories of your letting agent days?
Yeah, so the business I was involved in was sold almost 10 years ago. So it's been a long time now. So I came out of that, and Chris and I had a chat, and we thought there was a business idea here in Portolio, and we've taken that forward. And when I came out of the lettings business, I had a chat with a few people, doing various things. I knew that I'd spent about, I'd gone into lettings about just after 2001, I think it was. So had been in lettings for a long time, sort of advising loads of landlords, etc. So that obviously that experience I've had previously sort of lends itself perfectly to Portolio. But yeah, I had a chat with lots of people. We chatted, didn't we, at the time when I came out? You said you had this idea about a property podcast. I thought that that'll never take off. But yeah, so it was. It's just I think it only works if you've got a good business partner, these types of things. And you've obviously, you guys have got great chemistry here. Yeah. And, Chris and I have got different skill sets and they complement each other.
What was the last thing you fell out about?
Whose car we would take to drive here.
Oh, really? What kind of donuts to buy?
Yeah, I was a bit offended, wasn't I?
Yeah, I just thought Chris's car would be a lot messier to sit
but
in.
He's actually got some kind of plant pot. He's obviously turned over in the back of your car. There's earth everywhere.
Yeah, I was a bit embarrassed.
It's not great.
Have you got you haven't got the branded cars, have you?
No, we don't actually. No.
Should see Stephen's all branded up, all wrapped up.
Just the wheel cover to get it through.
It's nice. It looks
compliance,
smart.
Right, for a company vehicle.
Yeah,
it looks good. I think that it's probably money well spent. That
we're chatting about that. We're chatting about that in the budget there as well, about like some of the things that people weren't actually paying attention to was probably the electric car. You can offset the full cost of electric cars against your corporation tax, and that's going away from April. So there's businesses looking to get a company vehicle, and now is probably the time.
We actually had talking about partnerships and your business partner. We had a wee fallout there in the last podcast with David Hutton arguing about AI, and I'm like, I just get AI to do it. You're like, no, you lose the human touch. Where do you guys stand on the AI in your business? We speak up, right? So our audience is like obviously landlords, property investors, but we've got a lot of small business owners as well, because we consider ourselves now, if you're building a portfolio and building a property portfolio, you are a small business owner now too. So
true.
You guys on the operations, I would be curious to know the day to day and how you're implementing it in your work.
Well, Ross is usually the guy to, again, talking about different skill sets and things. He'd be the guy to sort of think, oh, can we use AI for this? And actually, what I've seen us use it a lot in recently is just sort of HR procedures and, how to, build cultures, the right culture within your business and the kind of right procedures and helping develop your staff. We've been using it for quite a lot of that, haven't we?
Yeah, I've done quite a few AI webinars recently, and it's incredible how it's not been with us that long, but it feels like it's part of your everyday life.
Fastly.
Yeah, it is. And I suppose everybody's concerned about this AI bubble and when it's potentially going to burst and what impact it will have on the global economy, which might be something that we'll face next year.
Yeah.
But I think it's necessary to embrace it and try and use it as much as we can, because it's a tech that people, the younger generation, have grown up with, and they're just accustomed to using it. And so I embrace it. I want to use it in our company in a positive way, because I think it does essentially save you time in the day-to-day stuff. And it is like, I'll be using it and I'll be saying to Chris, and it's it's like watching your dad operate the video recorder back in the 80s. Because I'm on that. You're like, what's this chat? What how did I just want to record the show?
Then you were wondering what's on those videotapes. what are all those like? Anyway, no, that's another thing, but altogether. But I think that obviously we are going through that massive shift at the moment, but there's still that place for the human element as well. So how have you grown your team, and how are you looking at? Have you got a couple of staff now as well?
Yeah, we've got two full-time people at Portolio, and then you've got a marketing person that's part-time that helps come in and with some video stuff, and you need that.
You're pretty good on those socials, actually. You're keeping up pretty consistent. And
consistent / boring, or just consistent?
Oh, good. You need to be, obviously, to build a brand, to build a business, you need to be in people's faces, and you keep showing up in my feed, so you're doing something
you should see us. I think it's like any small business. You're like, right, try and just put the camera behind there over the shoulder, and then you nod there, and you're
too worried about your bald spot, mate, but honestly, you need to get over that. Like, I'm well over it. Like,
yeah, well, let's talk about that. But you're always just trying different stuff out, aren't you? And trying to make it not so boring, because there's so much content out there from everybody, and you're just trying to make it useful and interesting. And so,
so you've got the kind of the two guys that are like, what are they, kind of like sales negotiators, trying to get the sale through. Are you guys, what's your roles within the business, Chris?
So, well, the people, we've got Monty. I
know Monty.
Yes,
used to work for SME.
That's right.
Aye.
Yeah. So he was good to bring in, and I've known Monty actually for a long time. And he's got lots of energy. everybody likes him, seems, and he's on the phone all the time, speaking to buyers, obviously speaking to our clients, the sellers as well, and just really, really good communicator and motivated. So he's great. And so I'm coaching him a lot of the time and regular meetings with him, and we all, so in terms of what I do, Moni is selling the portfolios, and I'm kind of working with him to make sure that's going well and just getting them.
Now, if you're listening to this, guys, portfolios is one we're going to talk about later on in the podcast, how you can find portfolios, how you can negotiate them and all the rest of it. So we will get into that. So that's...
And that's kind of the division of labour. So I'm kind of doing that with Moni and, running the company with Ross. And then Ross is more connected to Glenn, who is selling the single stuff.
And you go, Ross?
Yeah, so Glenn is training up to be an estate agent. So we're putting him through his property mark exams at the moment, so he's focusing on that. So
why did you decide to open up an estate agency wing then? Was it just because certain properties just wouldn't fit the certain leads that you were getting in? You didn't want to waste the leads?
The separate estate agency?
Yeah.
Macwood. So that was sort of designed for properties that didn't fall into the bracket, because we get a lot of inquiries on a monthly basis from landlords that are looking to sell across Scotland, and actually we get quite a few from England now, through our social media sort of coverage. So for the leads that we're inquiring about from the Edinburgh, Lothians and Fife, if it doesn't quite fit as a tenanted property sale where the yield maybe isn't attractive or the price point isn't attractive, then what was happening is we were just passing that lead on to a local agent, another agent to sell, and we'd sourced that lead. So we decided to then start up a sister company, and we passed those leads into the sister company, into Macwood.
Makes sense.
It did make sense.
It was almost more than that though as well, because it's, again, talking about the roles in the business, mine is to speak to the landlords that contact us. So that, we're contacted 60, 70, 80, 90 landlords might contact us in any month, and that's consistently been the way it's been for the last, 5 or 6 years.
Wow, that seems like a lot of leads.
It's a lot, and we only generally instruct maybe 15. So we go live with about 15 properties. So there is a lot of conversations that particularly I'm having with landlords, and they're not short conversations either, but you're just listening to them, you're giving them the best advice, you're then doing what we call it the no obligation desktop appraisal, but it's just like, this is what I think your property would be valued at. This is what you, based on where it is.
And presumably you don't go out to the property for these.
So we're not bothering the tenants or anything like that. But we're usually pretty accurate, and we do actually reach out to local surveyors, because I don't know every street in Scotland, obviously. So we'll reach out to a local surveyor and we'll get some guidance from them. Go back to the landlord, and this is what I think, importantly, this is what I think you'll get for your tenanted property. And there are great virtues in selling tenanted property for the landlord. Continual rental income, the process can start now. They don't have to spend anything on the property, that kind of stuff. So really strong reasons for selling it tenanted. But at the end of the day, they've still got to get a fair sale price. So we spend a lot of time just working with that. Well, I'm working with that landlord to get back to them with this desktop appraisal to say, this is what I think you'd get. So if the property was in Edinburgh or so, if that landlord would say, well, that's not going to work for me, and I go, well, I agree. That price is not a fair sale price. And a fair sale price, I would say, is a sale price that's pretty close to the real value of the property. Might not be the full value that you'd get, and certainly not above the actual value of the property, but close to the home report. And generally we can do that.
Fancy making £1,500 for sending a WhatsApp? Let's take a wee break to talk about referring sellers to John and Lewis at Prime Property Auctions. The boys have paid out over £350,000 in referral fees. Myself and Stephen have both done it, and it couldn't be easier.
If you know someone selling a property, the guys will pay you £1,500 or 1% of the sale price, whatever is higher, just for passing their details. Doesn't matter if the seller is already on with an agent or not, as long as you're in direct contact with the seller, just drop the guys a message and they'll do everything from the first call to getting the property sold. If you know someone might be looking to sell or struggling to get the result with their own agent, go to the link in the show notes and send them a message now.
We can get sale prices that are
Talk to us about sale price expectations, because I have no experience in this field, but my thought or my perception would be that, you get into property as a landlord because you've got a kind of sense of want to make money or you want to build assets, so you've got some sort of financial knowledge, or you're quite kind of clued up about investing and stuff like that. So surely when it comes to exit, you're going to be kind of looking always to get the best possible price. So can that be quite a difficult conversation to have? Because if you got to kind of bring people back down to earth a wee bit in terms of price expectations.
Yeah, I often think our job is not to tell the potential client what they want to hear. It is just to tell them the actual truth.
Because that's not going to do you any favours down the line, is it?
Because we could have 1,000 properties on our website if we just said, if the landlord came to me and said, well, I think I need 100,000. I'll go, well, we could get you 100,000. And then they would instruct us and we would have a property on our website. But we would then not get them 100,000 because it actually wasn't ever going to be possible.
And then you don't get paid.
And then we don't get paid, but also we just get a bad reputation as well. So telling the truth and just giving that honest appraisal will often lead to us not being instructed at that time. But, maybe I'd say to them, right, based on the rent, and landlords will say all the time, don't they, Ross? They say, I've not wanted to increase the rent. It's a good tenant, all that kind of stuff. And that is completely laudable. It's good. It's a good thing.
Make your property attractive to sell.
It makes it hard to sell now. Yeah. So you've had a good, consistent tenant, and I can understand your reasons for not having increased the rent. But now is the time to do it if you are looking to sell with the tenant in situ. And of course, you've got the option of not selling with the tenant in situ. You could end the tenancy, but anyway, so if you want to keep the tenant in there, you can have a conversation with the tenant and just say, look, I do need to sell, and I want to sell with you living there because it's your home. It's my property, but it's your home, and we respect that. But I cannot sell the property at the rent you're currently paying. So there's a conversation to be had there with your tenant, and maybe over the next 2 or 3 years, or maybe it could be sooner, we will need to increase the rent to make this, be able to sell with you still living.
Yeah, that is important, obviously.
I'm intrigued to hear about the buyer demographics have changed, because what you've been on since 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, you've went from 3% ADS to 4 to 6 to 8.
Tell us about it.
And then obviously you have these conversations when your landlord's looking to sell, or you can't evict the Scottish government says you can't put the rent up. Now you can to market rent. So, I mean, I'm quite interested in how your buyer demographics have changed, because surely that's changed dramatically over the last short period of time.
Yeah, I would say that there are younger buyers starting to come into the market. I think the most people that are selling the property are probably, I'd say, about 55 and up.
It's almost out with the old and with the new type.
Yeah. And what are the reasons, Ross, that you're getting from people? Obviously, that's one of the things that you must ask people. Why are you selling?
Yeah.
What are they saying to you?
Well, most people will respond to that by saying, well, they must be fed up with legislation changes over the last 10, 20 years as a landlord. And a lot of them are. But the number one reason for landlords coming to us and selling is because they're retiring. And they just want that lump sum
cash in,
to do whatever they want to do, and that's it. They've come to the end of the buy-to-let journey. They've had their property for 25 plus years or whatever, and they're looking to sell the property and just cash in. So that is the number one reason that the people. Other reasons might be that they're looking to sell because they want to finance a family home purchase, and because they've only had either 1 or 2 buy-to-let properties.
Yeah, like restructuring finances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just that I always hear, obviously, with John Blackwood on the podcast there from Sal, who I love, they're brilliant. Shout out to John. But, you kind of get this perception that people are fed up of government legislation, but from what you're hearing, it's not really too much about that, is it?
People are fed up. And I think the rhetoric from the Scottish government has changed maybe slightly over the last, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months towards landlords. I think there's a softening in the chat that's coming out of the Scottish government, which is good. I think it's necessary for that to happen, because I think there should be greater appreciation for landlords, especially when we're in the midst of a housing crisis. And landlords are fed up with all the various changes, and there'll be more changes coming down the tracks. It always happens. EPCs are the next one to think about for landlords, and getting your property to the required minimum standards. But I think they understand that is part of being a landlord. There will be changes in legislation, so they understand that. I think landlords get fed up with mortgage rates changing more so than maybe some you have to, here's an extra certificate you need from the Scottish Government every year or every couple of years.
Are these ones that are fed up? Are these mostly landlords that have held the properties in their own personal name for a long period of time?
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Is that a lot of your
exactly.
demographics?
Yeah, because they've got it. Because they've had that point where when they first bought the property and let it out, they did buy it in their own name. When they only needed a gas safety and a tenancy agreement to let the property out, and since then they've everything's changed.
You could buy that from W.H. Smith's.
yeah. So everything's changed for them. So they're the ones that are like, well, now it's time to sell my property.
Yeah. But the younger ones coming through that are treating it like a business, buying a limited company, are these the ones
See,
that are
that's the thing.
more?
We split it into two, don't we? Because we have loads of. I mean, our demographic probably is more the younger listeners. The younger folk.
Investors, aye.
And you guys like Christy Elnor that come in here that bought like 100 properties over the last couple of years and stuff like that. Yourself, Stephen, scaled massively over the last few years. So it's great. There is that, and I still see like buy-to-let property. I always say it. You're still young, mate. I think you've got another couple of years left in you. And you've got a glow off you today, man. What have you been doing to your skin?
Must be that new moisturiser.
Have you trimmed your eyebrows or something? So you're looking.
I did get a haircut for coming on the podcast.
Oh, it's the haircut.
And a wee trim beard.
Do you get that? See, when you go I go to Turkish barber and he goes, ears and eyebrows.
Yeah,
I know,
I love a good nose wash.
They're militant against hair these days, aren't they? These barbers, honestly, and then they get the razor. It's just
a man be a man. Come on,
that wax in your nose. Like I see you with that.
That's right. Yeah, wax in the nose. I said yes once, never again.
We're off that tangent there.
So flame here.
Back to the landlords and the demographic. So it's good to see those people who are growing their portfolios, which is probably a good time to get on the portfolios. And obviously, like Portolio, it's quite close to the word portfolio. So you'd probably be one of the first ones to reach out to if you're looking for a portfolio. Did you not buy one off them as well?
Yeah, we did. Right,
there you go.
39.
Yeah.
Off the buggers.
What do you give them out of 5? 5 stars or?
Great.
Opinion on the spot.
Did you leave a Google review or no?
I don't know.
It's not too late.
If you give him one, he'll give you one.
It was interesting though because and it's probably quite a common client that you'll get. As I'd spoke to the client who sold it, probably 3 years previous, and then a year and a half previous, and then the minute it came on about you guys, Sam was like, we know the offer straight away because we've been offering it for 3 years. Here's the offer still stands. But what I liked about the due diligence part of it, because we knew it was going to you guys and it was a trustworthy company, we're like, we know they're all compliant. We know everything's where it needs to be. Let's just get the offer in, and we can move quickly. And we liked that as well because it was like,
But now at that point, do you need to pay them a buyer's fee now? Is that how it works?
No, sellers fee.
What is your, just so while we're on that, what is your kind of business model and fee structure then?
We don't charge any fee to the buyer.
Right.
Yeah, just traditional estate agency, if you like, and
they've got enough fees to pay.
I think, I don't know. We launched that way, and again, going back to staying in our lane and actually not really changing too much about us at the core level. We know that there's other companies out there selling tenanted properties, doing things in different ways, and we've kind of looked at that, and at times we've tried to compete, not by changing our fee structure or doing anything, but thinking that we have to try and compete. And then after a period of time, we thought, actually, you know what? We are good at what we do. We may not have the most properties on our website and all the rest of it, but we have got a good reputation, and that's worth something. So let's just keep doing a good job. So we just charge a fee to the landlord that's selling. So we don't charge anything up front. We charge a marketing fee when the sale has been agreed. So we've small reasons for celebration. We'll send an invoice for about 600 quid at that stage. And then our larger estate agency fee is charged at the end.
That'd be a commission? Is that a percentage commission?
Percentage, yeah. It's 1.5 plus VAT,
right,
I'm happy to say.
On completion.
On completion. And I know that's more than your average estate agent, but of course, we're not an average estate agent. We are doing something different.
Bespoke.
And we'll take on all that risk in terms of, we'll go ahead and get the work done. And it's obviously so important to us to get that sale completed because really that's when we get paid.
Yeah.
So, we do all of that. It's traditional fees. And in actual fact, what I would say in terms of, paying an estate agent versus going with an estate agent that charges buyer fees is that usually the buyer fees are a little bit more than our fee that we're charging the landlord that's selling. And if there's a fee somewhere, if the buyer's, say, paying £3,000 or £5,000 or whatever much, that's going to be reflected in the sale price. Yeah. So the fee is getting paid somewhere.
I like that with your model as well, though, and I feel like it's very upfront. And I feel like as well, like a lot of the companies that will act, take a fee for the buyer and the seller. Like, how can your company act honestly for both? You're right in the middle. Yeah. Who you getting the best price for, the buyer or the seller? So I like that Portolio kind of just stands right in the middle. We're selling the property for the landlord who's looking to exit.
It's a true relationship, I always think, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, I need to jump in. Obviously, we're sponsored by Prime Property Auctions, and they do have a buyer and seller fee. So John and Louis, they do a good job. So
we have connections with those guys. We like them too. So.
We don't want to lose our sponsors.
I think I'm just being really biased, obviously, because I'm not in a position to sell. I'm more in a position to buy and to go in, and we're already getting hit with 8% ADS. We're already getting hit with legal fees. We're already getting hit with mass, you're
thinking it about from
a point of view going, I'm going to, I'll offer on a portfolio, I'll offer on a property, knowing that I'm already got my cost. I've not got an additional 4 or 5 grand.
I think there's various different models that can work, and they work for everybody in different ways.
Yeah. There is, and we'd always say that even though we're not charging a fee, we're not taking a fee from the buyer, but we want to develop good relationships with buyers because ultimately the buyer has a positive experience from us, and then in 6 months, 8 months time they come back, right, I'm ready to buy my next investment property. What have you got this time? Because if we give them a property that's not compliant, that's got numerous issues, that's got maybe rent arrears on day one of ownership, they're not going to come back and buy their next property from us.
A controversial question then that might on the buyers then, right, or the people that come from courses. So I had a guy on my course that reached out. I said, there's a property I'm looking at. We'll look at it. I said, why don't you reach out to Chris or Ross? I think he reached out to Ross to maybe throw you under the bus.
Right, okay.
And the feedback he got was something along the lines like, you're clearly just off a course because the language you're using or the conversation that called, and it was like it really put him off it.
Right.
And I thought, we get that a lot in property professionals. People don't like people coming from courses. And this guy's only done it 5 months ago. He's already got 19 properties. These are the clients that I was like, wow. And I goes, I'm quite surprised that. You sure it wasn't just the way you're picking up on it? No, I did say, you've been just been off a course or something like that.
Who said that?
Apparently it was Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, you really put him under the bus. Now, what's your defence to that, Ross?
I don't recall that conversation. But so we do get a lot of calls from people that have, and normally, because the conversations normally start, you often find that there's some kind of script that they're following, and they're a negotiation tactic where they come in really low to try and, I think, potentially knock you off, or to then put a doubt in your mind about how valuable the property is you're selling, and then so that bring you ultimately down. So I honestly can't remember.
There's got to be a bugbearer, right? I mean,
it would be annoying.
It's a bugbearer for a lot of estate agents.
I think we're possibly sometimes could be a bit protective of our client. Again, our client's the landlord that's selling.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of come along, going back to 2017, because we saw that landlords were selling. They would sometimes sell their tenanted property, and what I saw was that they were not getting a fair sale price,
represented correctly.
But we fully understand that property investors are also trying to create financial freedom and independence and security and all that kind of stuff. So I guess we're quite protective of our client, and we will often get low offers and things.
Have you had any ridiculous offers recently?
But it must be a common thing, because as a property investor, you're looking at that saying, you're going to try and get as close to market value you can as a tenanted property. Yeah. Then I'm buying a tenanted property going, well, I'm paying 8% straight away. So I'm not paying 8%. I'm negotiating that. I'm paying £1,000 on my legals. I'm paying a couple of £1,000 on my arrangement, my borrow, and I want some kind of discount because I can't add value to this yet. Yeah. So you're looking going, shit, it must be a difficult conversation to try and match them.
Yeah. The thing we've really not said is that we list all our properties at a fixed price.
All right.
So we're very clear to buyers to say, this is exactly what, if you want to buy this property, this is exactly what the seller wants, and this is a fixed price, good, as opposed to an offers over where you're not sure. And then that's when, offers come in sort of fishing around, say, I'm not sure what your client's looking for, would they take this, take that? Well, that's actually pretty clear from our, because we can then tell you straight away, well, it's a fixed price, and this is the yield at that fixed price.
So you're agreeing the price then with the client, sort of thing, like you would accept
that's part
that
of going
price.
Back to that appraisal. So based on where it is, what it is, this is what we think the value is. this is based on that, what we think we get as a sale price. Now, if the gross yield is, say, 6.5%, and it needs to be 9%, then there's only two ways to increase the yield. One is to get the rent up, and we touched on that earlier on. The other one is to reduce the price. So you can sell anything in a day if you put the price low enough. But again, that's not why we're here. We're here to try and get that fair sale price. Yeah. So if it was a really low yield, and if the landlord was really determined to sell and didn't want to increase the rent and all that kind of stuff, then it would be discounted quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? So see, from the property educator's point of view, so what are you telling your students then to phone up estate agents and say, like, negotiate the price? So say they've agreed a price to their landlord of 100k.
It's based on the numbers. I mean, I've got people that are coming on the course that go, I'm starting with a couple hundred grand. I can leave 10, 15, 20 grand in every property and still build my portfolio. Or you might get someone coming in and going, I've only got the one single pot, so it needs to recycle quickly. Okay, you need as much of your money back out. Look at your numbers, and if there's a deal to be done at your numbers, there is. But if there isn't, then move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's the size of it. Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I hear it from both sides. Yeah. You know, you've got to see it from both sides. So yes, understand what you're saying to your guys, and obviously to grow that portfolio, you need to make that pot last as long and recycle the BRR and all the rest of it. But then I can see it from your side as well. If you're dealing with 60 emails from one...
Ross won't want those clients though. You're wanting the clients that are looking at a yield going, do you know what, I'm happy to park my 100 grand into a property and get a 6% yield or a 7% yield, and you can have that conversation with it. It's almost a completely different buyer, isn't it, really?
It can be, yeah. There's lots of different buyers, lots of different buy-to-let strategies out there. So it's not one size fits all. But some people prefer certain areas, and they just sit in their sort of in that area. They quite like invest in that area, or they're looking for a certain yield, and they're not actually that fussed about what area of Scotland they're investing in. So everybody's slightly different. We try and make it as easy as possible for the investor because it is a fixed price. As Chris said, we've already done that initial part of that negotiation to say, well, what price is going to work for a buyer? Yeah. This price is going to work for a potential buyer, and at that yield in this particular area, because the yield differs.
Are you having conversations on that all the time then with the buyers, like how the buyers changes? Because obviously if you're on the phone to a landlord and the expectations change because 8% ADS just came in like that, and you're going, but we're not going to get that sale price anymore. It's going to be that little bit more.
Interest rates dictate these things as well. You know, from a logistical point of view, the gross yield needs to be at a certain level to make it work lending wise. So there's real reasons out there for a price being marked at whatever level. But Ross and I, we review the stats for each month and quarter, and we say, well, these properties that were sold, what was the eventual yield? So we're able to make an informed decision.
What's that number looking like for a yield investor that are?
It really does. It depends on the location, obviously. But Edinburgh used to be anything at 6%. If it even touched 6%, like 5.8 and stuff, we'd be like, yeah, okay, that'll do. But now it's in the high sixes probably.
Right. Surely Atlantic's getting that bit more for
the yields just need to be that bit higher, which is now more possible because rents can be increased and rents have gone up in general. So actually the properties we're selling these days, the yields that we're advertising are so much higher than the yields that used to be.
How much of a struggle was it selling properties when the Scottish Government then capped the rents, and you're having conversations with buyers saying the only way
Don't talk to me about 2023.
I could imagine. So I'm assuming the conversation is the only way you can sell is reducing the prices, and if someone's not willing to reduce the price, you're sitting there struggling to sell. Yeah,
not properties. Willing or not able to.
Not able to,
because the negative equity and stuff like that. Yeah,
and I think a lot of buyers come to us thinking, well, maybe not. Obviously, not everybody. Some buyers come to us. Maybe this chap that you were talking about, it comes out almost like they're doing us a favour by offering this amount of money to take it off the person's hands, and because they don't want it anymore. But they're still generating rental income. Yeah. So they're not. A lot of them. Everybody's circumstances is different, but they're not necessarily under pressure to sell at a lower price. But some people might be willing to consider it. But they could just continue to receive rental income coming in, and then maybe sell it at some point in the future when the tenant vacates.
See that guy that you're talking about? Yeah. Sorry,
it's not the situation.
Yeah, what is that? Let's get this guy's number. Let's phone him.
Phone a friend.
Bring him on.
What was your offer? And what? So did he offer quite below the asking price then?
Most likely.
Yeah. So by this point, you might have already had conversations with that seller to say, like, I'm not going to be taking below. So maybe, and you might had a day where you're like, Jesus Christ, not another one. Do you know what I mean? So understandable.
Yeah, I know.
But I know what you're saying.
Do you know what it was? It was more the negative connotation around property professionals with, oh, here's a guy from our course, but this is a guy who's within 5 months has got 19 proproperties. Like he's off the blocks,
think that, would you,
smashing it.
No, I think it would probably just be a case of, well, we're
lowball again.
If someone's phoned and come in with an offer that's already been potentially rejected from another buyer, then I can probably sort of bat it back quite quickly to say that's not necessarily going to work. And so the offer has to be higher.
That's the polite way of putting it.
And I'm always polite on the phone.
It must have been Chrissy spoke.
That sounds more like me. That's it.
Right.
Oh, but no, I get what you mean. The thing is, we bought some tenanted properties as well in the past, and the rental income might be one part of it, but if there's other external factors of financial difficulty, they're like, do you know what? I'm just wanting rid of this. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm getting income or not. It's covering the mortgage, spending a few £100. I just want rid of this. I'm needing money for X, Y, and Z.
Nick said earlier on about exit strategies. So that is saying that a lot of our clients are property professionals, people that bought these properties on purpose. But actually, there's still a heck of a lot of people out there who they inherited a property.
Accidental landlords.
Yeah, accidental landlords still exist.
Well, I hope you guys are going in 15, 20 years' time when I go to exit, because I couldn't think anywhere else you'd want to exit. Like, we're all getting into property to build this portfolio legacy, but what happens if our kids aren't interested in taking on the business?
I hear that a lot as well.
And I was like, I'm going to pass them to you
guys. Get them signed up, get that contract on the table.
That was a verbal contract.
If you think about it though, like, and I suppose the accidental landlord from years ago built up this property portfolio of 5-10 properties. Like, where do you exit them? You can't put them on the market, the open market. And if you've got multiples, you're like, well, who's going to exit?
What's the commission fee on 100 properties in Aberdeen?
Fuck off.
We're fine. Going back to portfolios, we do find that the sale price we're getting for property portfolios, it used to be always this thing about, I'm buying a job lot, so I need a massive discount and stuff. But for obvious reasons, certainly to your listeners, multiple dwelling relief, effectively not paying the ADS.
Just quickly, just to explain to listeners in a very brief couple of short sentences.
Okay. Yeah, so there's this thing called the multiple dwelling relief. If you buy 6 or more properties in one transaction, you get this relief, which if in simple terms, and it's not quite as simple as this, but in simple terms, you don't pay the 8% ADS and you get a wee bit extra on top of that.
Which can save a heck of a lot.
It's a massive saving.
30, 40, 50, 60, £100,000, whatever. Depends.
I wonder what the saving would have been for our ADS on buying that portfolio we got from you.
Yeah, a lot.
Aye.
I do have a cheat sheet to work it out, but it's hard.
Right, I'm interested, right? So he'd said that he was negotiating on that for 3 years. Then it went to you guys. So
which I didn't know about, actually.
The price, see the price that you guys ended up selling it? So did they ended up getting more for the client than you were offering?
No. It's not the exact same they paid. Right. It was interesting because it came through a letting agent originally. 2 letting agents passed it to me probably 3 years before we bought it. And then my friend who has a stove company, I think I told you this, a stove company in near St Andrews. He just said, I've got a guy selling 40 properties in Aberdeen. Do you want to take 20? And I'll take 20. And it was, I think over the 3 year period, it went from, here's my offer. It was I think it was 30% below what you think it's worth. And originally it was 10. I'm not going below 10. I goes, mate, I can throw a stone into the water in Aberdeen and get fucking 20, 30% below on a single unit. Why am I going to spend £4 million on properties to get a discount? And it was like, nope. And then when it came back to the other agent, it was, I maybe go to 15%. And I'm like, okay, we're getting better. And then when it came back to my friend at the stove, I'm not going below 20%. I'm like, this guy's getting more and more. There's only one way of getting rid of these properties is to sell it at a discount to get rid of it.
And he was, that landlord, lovely guy as well.
Lovely guy.
And again, just a bit older. And it served its purpose. He bought it, ages ago.
It's actually a really cool story. When I took him for lunch a couple of times and to get to know him a bit as well and understand how he built them and when he got them. It was really, really nice and he well maintained, looked after them himself. I think almost gave himself
really
a
proud
job.
of them, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm all for everybody getting a share of the pie. So that's good that you guys got something out of that one as well. So that's good.
We kind of got stung buying them, and it wasn't, and it was just the market conditions, and it was probably the same time you're talking about 2023. Interest rates rising. So when we bought them, we'd have probably needed more discount because when the interest rates started rising sharply, all the exit products that we put on the bridging loan to exit them, they all came with 5% arrangement fees, which we never factored in because they're all 1%, if that, before. So yeah, there was, and then obviously massive lending costs at the back end, which we're still kind of coming off a bit at a time at the moment.
Highest demand properties in Scotland at the moment? When you stick one on the website, where's going really well?
That's a good question.
I think anything. Well, I'll let you answer that, Ross.
Yeah, no, there's lots of areas in Scotland. Paisley seems to always be very popular.
I love Paisley. We manage quite a lot in Paisley. Love it.
Yeah.
Aye.
Properties in Stirling shift very quickly as well. And it's just really, again...
That's you and Dudding buying them all.
The position back in the Scottish market just has various sort of price points and yields. So, you could buy a property in Paisley and that, for the same price you're struggling to buy a garage in Edinburgh. That's the crazy thing of the Scottish property market. But so there's something for everybody in it.
With the landlords, I mean, you guys obviously are based there in Edinburgh. I mean, there are landlords, right, that are still buying most of our landlords are buying, it's usually around the 100k mark because it doesn't really make sense with the higher interest rates now with the lending over and above 150, say. But there are still people buying solely for renting out property in Edinburgh just for a long-term capital growth play or just buying cash. Maybe there still are some of them.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. We've got an HMO property that completes next week.
Yeah,
which I think is about 360. It's a tenanted property.
Mortgage buy or cash buy? Or?
It is a mortgage buy.
So your interest payments on that are going to be big, but again, because the rental value, HMO, it's just going to still make sense, hopefully. That's the thing, because we're of the mindset that we need to really, we're all about the BRRR and all these strategies.
What I'm teaching people, you teach people what way they want. What do you want? What capital pot you come with? What's your risk appetite? What criteria do you want? Where do you want to buy properties? What type of tenant dynamic do you want? And make it fit their criteria, not you must get 25%. Well, what happens if 25% you don't want it? You want 10 or 15, you want better quality stock, or you have a massive capital pot. So yeah, there's, like you say, Ross, there's something for everyone everywhere.
Yep. So Chris is wanting to say.
Well, yeah, just to say that, talking about the buyers and how important the buyers are to us, and it touches on that because we always just want to have so many buyers on our database, and for those buyers to like us enough and to want to hear from us enough that, if we get a property that's in one particular street, there might be somebody on our database who just only wants to buy in that street, and the yield might not be quite that high enough, the discount might not be quite that high enough, but they want that, or somebody just wants Edinburgh properties, or just wants a Dundee, Stobswell, or whatever, Alloa. So our database is up to about 3,500 now.
Wow!
So it's organically built over the last 8 or 9 years, and obviously some people will leave the database, and that's great, that's fine, but it increases by about 40 to 50 every single month, and that's starting to slow down naturally, just because maybe the size of the database, that makes sense.
How can buyers do their own due diligence and save you guys a bit of time as well? Because you're talking about, obviously, you're there to field a lot of questions, obviously, naturally, as the agent, as the middleman.
Yep.
But obviously, there's quite a bit that people could be doing themselves as well. So what would your advice be to buyers who are looking to buy tenanted property, and what can they be doing to make sure it's the right decision for them?
Obviously, sign up for one of Stephen's courses first and foremost.
Because courses,
you should not be doing him any favours. He just threw you under the bus there.
I'm still getting out from underneath that bus.
I'm chucking all these buyers right to them.
So
I'm going to clap that up. Thanks.
For any property we take on, we always ask the landlord to provide us with all the tenancy documents and safety certs, and also get confirmation that the rent is up to date and there's no arrears and there's no any antisocial behaviour issues within the tenancy or during the tenancy. So we take all of that on. We also arrange access to get into the property to do home reports and also marketing photographs. So if we have any issues trying to get into the property, there's always red flags sort of generated at that particular time. We also do viewings. So so if anybody's interested in buying a property from our website, we could arrange for them to go into the property and meet the tenant and chat with the tenant. So the due diligence is really handed to the buyers on a plate from our perspective. They obviously need to do it from their side to make sure how does, and a lot of the prices, because we've got fixed price, they're not competing against home buyers for any of the properties on our website because they're all tenanted. And that meeting,
they could maybe
with
drive
tenant
by the property, I suppose, or something.
We can attest this as well from buying it, because I remember how jumping for joy Sam was when the portfolio was listed with you guys as well, because like I know it's all there. So like we had portfolios we were putting through 6 properties or 8 properties. We would take maybe a year and a half to get over the line. And I think we put that 39 through in a matter of a couple of months, because it was, here's a list of all the safety search, here's a list of all the rent
on a Google G Drive.
So I've just had an experience, and again, we're not going to start mentioning names here, but people need to be aware. This is where due diligence comes in, so important. There was an agency so we took on this landlord, right? He came to us and said, I've just bought a portfolio. And
next, try to think carefully what he said.
Yeah, no, I want to say more because I want people to be aware, but I also can't be asked with all the grief that will come with it. So I'm just going to gloss over it. But anyway, landlord, lovely guy, quite a young guy as well. He was going through a bit of shit in his life at the time, so he probably just went with what the agency told him. Yeah, everything's in order, blah, blah, blah. Tenants are in there paying, no maintenance issues, not a problem. I think there was 6 properties. Anyway, so he comes to me, would you manage them? I said, yeah, I had a wee look at them. I says, I got the spreadsheet with all the rents. Yeah, that's doable. Portfolio was down in Ayrshire. So then obviously like he hands them over to me, gives me tenants details, the agent, letting agent that was managing, and obviously I ask for all the documents, and then hardly I get fuck all back basically. You get a tenancy agreement if I was lucky. All the certs were missing. Turns out there was 2 tenants. There was 2 tenants out of 6 that hadn't been paying for years. Like I'm talking huge rent arrears that wasn't disclosed. Jesus. 2 of the properties as well were. One had a ceiling caved in that was like quite a big job to fix. And the tenant was so pissed off. By the time I got on the phone to her, she was like, you're like the 3rd letting agent that's been dealing with this. I've been living like this. You know, it's just problems. And he just taken that agent that sold him this portfolio, and they just bullshitted him. Absolutely bullshitted him. It turns out that they, through another company, actually owned the properties, and they were flipping it in their own estate agency auction company as well. So they'd owned the properties themselves. They were selling them on because basically it was a bag of shite that he's bought.
It kind of comes back to what we were chatting about like Portolio sticking in the lane and going, we're acting for the landlord, we're working for them. Whereas when you look at situations like that, you don't know who's working for who or who's taking a back end mandate or a buyer's fee.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, like I don't know what obviously you've told us that, and you can vouch for them that they try and get all the stuff, all your ducks in a row, all your tenancy agreements, your certs, your rent payment history and all the rest of it. But there's another thing to talk about as well, which seems to be quite rife in the industry, is these kind of agreed so what I don't even know what some people call back end mandates. Like, how would you describe them? Where basically, just to describe to people, so you get the buyer coming along, and then the estate agent goes out and they take the property on, so that the seller doesn't pay anything up front, but then they will be charged a fee at the end. But I'm absolutely ballsing this up. Can you explain it?
Is this, yeah, we don't know. I actually don't know too much about it, but I'm going to sort of guess at it a little bit because, you know, it's something that we've heard bits and pieces about. But it's where you speak to a say I'm speaking to a landlord and I've done my research and the property's valued at 100,000, let's say.
Yeah.
But I understand that this landlord is desperate to sell. So I say to the landlord, like, well, we can get you 60 grand for it.
Yeah.
And then we end up selling it for 85
That's
grand.
the one.
Yeah. And then we get the 25 grand.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it, basically.
That's the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So do you just regard that as completely immoral practice?
Well, we're here. We're the estate agent for landlords. We're here to help landlords get a fair sale price. So for us, that's against everything that we stand for in terms of why we have our business. We're here to help landlords get a fair sale price, which obviously has to work for the buyer.
What would you do?
But we're just charging our standard fee, and that's it.
Because obviously, I want to be on your black book for the discounts like that as well. But what happens if you do get that landlord that is like, you know, I need a quick sale, I need a desperate sale, and you know that putting on the tenanted property on the market for 100 grand, getting their fair price, or is going to take months
I actually just ignore that. So I've said this to landlords. Landlords will tell me what their mortgage is. And I say, I actually don't want to know what your mortgage is. I do not want to know what your pain point is, your mortgage point is. I just want to go away, do the research, come back and say, based on where your property is, what it is, what you get for rent, and the value of the property, this is what I think we'd get for you.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's not really listening to the seller's point of view then.
Well, I am listening to the seller.
Look, I need this gone in 2 weeks.
Well,
who are you going to?
If they do say that, okay, well, we can be a bit more aggressive. Yeah. But I think that the stuff we put on our website, we are pricing to sell.
Yeah.
We're not
how long
looking
will these take sales to go further?
Well, we get our average sale is about 5 or 6 weeks. That's how quickly we get stuff sold. Right. And just touching on the database there that we've got, so it's 3,500 or so in the database, and not everyone's going to match to every single property. So any mail shot might go out to about 1,500 people or so. But those people on our database, they receive that information about a week before it goes on to Rightmove and on the market. So that's where the value comes in for buyers to be on our database. They get to hear about stuff before it's,
the masses,
open market, if you like. And quite often, we'll get a sale in that window. So they're not being offered it at a better price or anything like that, but the buyer, they like it, they get the offer in, and it's maybe somebody who's bought from us before, and it completes and everything's fine. So we are our time to sell is pretty good. But if a landlord, of course I'm interested. If the seller says to me, look, I really need to get the shot of this really quickly, it really doesn't happen much actually, that conversation. But if they did say that, I would say, well, let's be a bit more aggressive, but we should get this sold pretty quickly at that price.
See, Ross, one of the reasons why I think you reached out to me initially as well was, there've been talk about this kind of practice going on, and then whoever it was whose company it was doing it then came back to say this was kind of standard practice across the kind of selling tenanted property industry sort of thing. So then you were quite keen to obviously make people aware that no, it's not really. So whoever that was, that's fine. That if they want to choose to run their business that way, that's fine. And their kind of get out was that, well, it's in the terms and conditions, so it's in the contract there. Now the seller might not be reading a full whatever it is page document, but you were quite keen to kind of clear that up.
And exactly what you've said there. Every business operates differently. Letting agents will operate differently, but have a very similar sort of service that they're in, but the price points are slightly different. And estate agents and people that are selling properties, either tenanted or portfolios or whatever, everybody will have different business agreement. And it's just that, as Chris alluded to earlier on, we just want to keep things simple for clients, and we're very professional in our approach to selling their properties or portfolios. So we don't have any. We just keep it clear that the fees come from the person selling the property or portfolio, and we just don't want to get involved in any of that. But we understand it goes on, but it's not something we're involved in.
I suppose as long as the seller's aware of the fee, there's no real.
But sometimes they're not really. The argument is that they should be because it's in the terms and conditions and it's in black and white. But sometimes they just.
we have there's a company in England who have sometimes referred clients to us, and this company in England, they call it a fixed price deal or something, which is obviously that can be a little bit ambiguous. But those clients that have come to us, they've known. And they've been very, so I think it does happen.
So they've gone, I didn't want to go with that model because...
Well, no, they've the company in England aren't well enough armed, if you like, to be able to sell a property in Scotland. They don't understand the law legislation and lettings and stuff. So they've passed it to us to be like their selling agent up here for that. But I've always demanded to have direct access to that client. So I'm able to speak to that landlord, and then I've said to that landlord, this is how it's working. And they've gone, the transparency, and they've gone, that's fine, I'm aware. And then we'll work. It's actually not been for a few years.
You're just ensuring that there is no back end mandates getting put in.
They're not really our client, but we've always just made sure that person that effectively we're working for indirectly does know the deal.
Yeah,
I'll just go back to it. Like I just feel quite.
We kind of knew about it, but it's not something that we do at all.
I just feel quite defensive in terms of it's more for like the people out there who are in desperate situations, who might be struggling in their life, and some shark comes across their front door, and you know, as shafting them out of 25 grand or something like that, that's life changing money for somebody. I know what your argument is. Sometimes it's like, well, you know, if they're just looking for a solution, then I get out quick and a quick sale and all the rest of it. Yes, but equally they could have had the solution of maybe putting it on the market, waiting an extra 2 weeks and getting an extra 25 grand. Do you know what I mean? So,
and if they were able to wait 2 weeks, then absolutely. And that's the whole point of presenting it. All options to someone you're buying a property from. You can put it on the market, you can have it to tenant, you can sell it tenanted, you can get a quick sale. Here's 4 or 5 different options we could put
I just think in the industry, I just wonder sometimes where people's morals lie in terms of where do you draw the line for yourself. And that's obviously an individual choice that you need to make as whoever's operating their own businesses. You need to say, right, that moral, that line lies there for me, and you live with that. But for me, I think it's crossed quite a lot.
I think nowadays you get found out pretty quickly, don't you? Because either, you know, people can put a review about your business online or jump onto social media and sort of say something about you. So, and then that just spreads, isn't it? Builds up. You know, other people have a similar experience. So that is something that we're obviously very conscious of, and that's why, you know, it's all about customer service from us. So if someone comes to us, it's just about making sure they have the best customer service, most positive experience.
Yeah. So the other thing, I know Portolio are amazing, but just go and read your reviews. But the other thing is that annoys me as well is I see quite a few. So it's like they're building big operations, but it's very young, hungry, like Wolf of Wall Street sales offices, right? These young guys that they get in, and it's pure, obviously, like commission. They're no caring about who's at the other end of that phone call. All they are worried about is what they're getting out of this and getting the fee in and getting the commission. And I think that's where sometimes the moral
it's kind of short. Is it short termism? You know, where and you just chase that particular one fee. Whereas we're kind of just think long-term
relationships,
reputation, looking back on your career, that kind of stuff. I guess it's because we're older. I don't know, but you know, and I think that, you know, the employees of these companies that are not on a regular salary and stuff, I can understand. You know, they're kind of desperate they've taken a bit of a leap of faith. They maybe left another job or whatever it is, and they're just trying to earn a living, and everyone's trying to feed their families and things like that. So I can understand all of that. It's just
because I could when Stephen's pal contacted me, I could have caved in and said, "Yeah, I'll just sell it to him for whatever, and I'll get my fee from you." And I didn't. I stood up to this bully. No, I know you have to, because I'm representing the person selling the property, and that whatever price was offered wasn't suitable for them. So, and I knew that, so that's why But back to back. But then it might be led to someone else, or it might have been the start of a successful negotiation to get to a price that worked for both parties.
And that's what I'm saying. Anytime I've ever bought a property discount in the portfolio bought from you guys, like the seller is not going to be unhappy with the price. Yeah, I've got a deal that works for me. I'm probably viewing hundreds and hundreds of properties every year. I'm not getting them all.
Yep.
I'm getting the ones that matches my criteria versus their expectations, and the rest of the time they'll get passed to you guys or Prime or someone that can refer them and give them a better price, or put on the open market and get 40 grand more for it. But this is what I can do for you. But here's other options.
Yeah.
And you'll always do the best for the person that you're speaking to, because you want to understand their situation and help them first and foremost.
I would love to see how the Scottish private rented sector looks in, say, 10 years' time. You know, what size is the Scottish PRS and things like that. I mean, obviously the trend.
What do you think?
Well, obviously the trend has been, and the narrative has been, that landlords are leaving because of various things, and maybe that's the older sort of demographic.
But we've got stats to say landlords in terms of landlord registrations are going down, but actual properties are. Number of properties in the PRS
so
is
going
up.
Landlords. So landlords, you were asking who, the debt, or you were asking actually, Stephen, that as the buyer changed, and they're nobody just comes in and buys one property. No. It is all portfolio stuff. They might buy one property at a time, of course, but they're generally looking to have 10, 20, 30 properties, that kind of thing.
Before,
so
that
professional
wasn't the
landlords,
10, 15 years ago, a landlord would have 1 or 2 properties, 3 properties. Like that was, I've got a few properties. Whereas now the expectations in the industry is, we've got there must be an unlimited company, we've got overheads, we've got ADS to pay.
There's
for a long time.
And you've got Lloyds Bank and John Lewis and these companies who are becoming landlords, some of the country's biggest landlords, private equity, pension funds who are doing build to rent.
There's still a housing crisis. There's still a massive need for the Scottish private rented sector, which means there's still a massive need for landlords, the role that we play in housing, and one conversation that we have sometimes, I'll speak to a landlord that's selling, and I will sometimes say, is there any chance your tenant can buy it? Just putting it out there. Have you asked your tenant, can they buy it? And they say, well, I'll do that. And they come back sometimes, very rarely actually, because tenants don't want to buy, but they might come back rarely and say, yeah, they want to buy it. And I'll go, well, that's fine. We're not going to get involved in that. But if you need advice, just give us a shout. So again, we're not getting the business, but we've done the right thing and helped. So it's quite nice if the tenant does buy the property.
We tried to do that before with that property to sell it to the tenant. The tenant was in it. Yeah. And it was a bit of a disaster, to be fair.
Okay, yeah.
So but it was given an opportunity, because if you're speaking to the tenants and saying, well, I'd love to get on the property ladder, well, you can. Yeah. We can help you get your deposit together, and we can agree the purchase price now in 5 years' time, and do it. But it turned out short for the first year tribunal, which you knew all the fucking.
What about Portolio then? Are you going to keep growing? More staff, bigger team?
Nah, I can't be bothered.
Selling up in a couple of years?
Yeah, that's it. That's the game.
Disappearing, not.
Don't exit. Do you know, we 2023 was a terrible year for us. We just only really kind of made it through, to be honest, because of interest rates going up and ADS went up and things. And in 2024, recovery year, and this year's been good. So we've had a good year this year. So I think we just try and put a foot down on the portfolio sales, because actually it helps with the fees. Some good fees come in for those things, and that helps us grow the business. So maybe next year we'll take on another member of staff at Portolio and just try and keep it going, and maybe try and remove ourselves from the front line a wee bit. Ross and I maybe I'll play a bit more golf. I don't know what Ross will do, but Ross.
Yeah, no, that's the strategy, isn't it? To try and create jobs, get people into the industry, and give landlords the option of selling while keeping the tenant in their home. And I touch on what Chris had said about the best. So sometimes the best solution is selling to the tenant. It's quite nice, because the tenant's been living there. Maybe they've been living there for 5-7 years, and the landlord comes around to say, "I'm thinking of selling," and if you can sell to the tenant, perfect. I know it doesn't always work out, but a lot of tenants are in that accommodation because maybe they don't want to buy a property, or they can't afford to buy a property. So if the tenant can't buy that property, then the next thing for us to do is to try and protect them in their home by facilitating a sale that keeps them in their home. So
I think it was Skipton that Skipton Mortgage were offering 100% based on your rental.
That disappeared though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did it? I heard that as well. Is that gone?
I think as quickly as it came in. I think as quickly as it disappeared. It was not a credit check to the landlord to see you've been paying your rent for a period of time, and then you get the 100% lending on it. But I think the interest rate was quite high as well. But
But just keep doing what we're doing. I think we get great feedback from everybody. So keep doing what we're doing, trying to grow. We get a lot of negative feedback on Facebook. People seeing some of our stuff. Just to mention the Facebook.
What's that?
I don't understand it. I think people hate landlords, don't they?
Oh, right.
So
okay.
if you put an advert on, so we do this. We've got our Facebook feed. So we don't get that much. We don't get any on that because people follow us because they want to see our content. But the Facebook ads, sometimes the algorithms for social media just stick it in front of people who clearly don't want to see it, and they're quite quick at just putting comments.
I actually just went on your Google reviews here to try and read out some negative ones, and I can't even find one. There's 133 5-star ones.
We had a 4-star one about 5 years ago.
I still wake up at night thinking about that 4-star review, thinking
it was probably to do with you on the phone to somebody.
It was, yeah.
And then you've got Stephen coming on here on the podcast, and he's just destroyed you. Anyway, guys, it was absolutely brilliant. It was a great chat. Apart from I fluffed it about the explanation about the back end mandate, but Chris managed to come in and save me. So that clearly shows you that I would be absolutely useless on one of these sales floors in the Wolf of Wall Street surrounding one of these companies.
To Dubai, mate.
There's no hope for me there. But looking forward to getting fired into these donuts, and I'll get this wee notepad wrapped up for the missus. That's brilliant as well, guys. Thanks very much for taking the time.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you, Nick.